Hakadosh Boker Or Shavua Tov Masechet Nedarim Daf Yomi 5A1 says the Gemara at the top of the page. Aval Amar Mudrani Hemach. If a person comes and he said it by himself, that means he didn't say it with any other utterances. He only said, "I'm separated from you," or "I'm distanced from you," or "I'm mudarana'ah from you." Lechudei by itself. Shnehem asurim. Both of them are prohibited to benefit from each other. The reason why is when he says mudrani emach, it's mashma that me to you and you to me. Meaning when a person comes and uses a terminology that I am as if to say separated from you in a terminology of a mudar hana'ah. Mudar hana'ah means that you're not allowed to benefit from it. It works both ways. Okay, and therefore, if a person comes and he does that to another person, so therefore he prohibited them to have benefit from his property, and he's not allowed to have benefit from their property. Kihad the Rabbi Yossi ben Chanina, just like the Rabbi Yossi ben Chanina said, Mudrani emach shnehem asurim. If a person came and he said Mudrani emach, both of them are prohibited to benefit from each other. Okay, fine. Tzanan, we learned in the Mishnah. Hadeni alecha cherem. A person comes and he says, I am to you a cherem. Now remember that a cherem is like a neder in the fact that it's on the cheft side, it's on the object, it's not on the gavra, it's not on the human being, like a shavua. Cherem is also on the object, right? The isur, but it's not mentioning the terminology isur or korban, because then that would have been a neder, or the subcategories, the kinuim, which is going to be, whether it's going to be kunameh, kunam, kunach, kunas, right? But rather it's cherem now. So he says, Hareni alecha cherem, hamudar asur. So the one that's doing it is not allowed to benefit, which means he's not allowed to benefit from the noder. Avalamadir, but the one that did the neder, meaning that did the cherem, lo, he's not prohibited.
Not both ways.
Exactly. Here it's not both ways, which means the one that says, you are to me a cherem, right? Hareni, I am, no, sorry, not you are to me. I am on to you like a cherem. So therefore, for me, I'm allowed to benefit from you, but you're not allowed to benefit from me because I am on to you like a cherem, which means you are prohibited from benefiting from anything that I have. So says the Gemara. Now, 1 second. Now here, according to Rabbi Yosef ben Chanina and Shemuel, both of them should be prohibited because hareni alecha cherem, the word alecha is like on everything. It's kolel everything. So if it should work both ways, why now? Well, here we're saying it only works one way. So answers the Gemara, no. Kegon de parish ve'at alay lo. Here he answers, you're right. According to our shita, it always works both ways when you're saying alecha onto you. Here, though, you explicitly said that it's only going one way. You
spelled it out.
You spelled it out. You said, Kigom de Parish, you spelled it out. You said, ve'at alay lo, but you to me, no. So it's only me to you, not you to me. Okay, that's what he says. So now it says the Gemara, 1 second. Okay, what about at alay cherem? Right, what does it mean, at alay cherem? Hanoder asur. The noder is going to be prohibited. Aval mudar lo, but the mudar is not going to be asur bana. So what's going on exactly? According to Rabbi Yosef ben Chanina and Shemuel, right? Both of them should be asur bana, right? So he answers, "Kigon de parish va'ana alach lo." That me unto you, it's not going to be prohibited. Aval stama mai, but what's going to be the stama? Shnehem asurim. Both of them are going to be prohibited, which means if you didn't spell anything out, it's going to be working both ways. What about the Seifa? The Seifa over there says, Hareni alecha ve'atalai. I am on to you and you to me. Shnehem asurim. Both of them are going to be prohibited. Haden, in this case, where you're saying both of them, udishtem asurim. Hastama hu asur b'chaver, which means like this. We are trying to get stama. Stama means what happens if something is not really spelled out. And I'm going to say stam without saying anything. What's the halacha? So we wanted to take from one part and then we want to take from the other part, which means like this. We want to deduce from the beginning that stama, both of them are going to be prohibited. But then we go from the seifa. The seifa is the latter part of that braita. And there, the latter part said, Hareni alecha ve'atalai. Me to you and you to me, then it's prohibited. Stama, if you didn't spell out the words me to you, you to me, so it's mashma. Only one, it works one way. So that's again, it's a stira. It's a stira.
What's going to do?
So answers the Gemara, this is what it means to say. So Rabbi Yossi ben Chanina, right? He comes and he says like this: Mudar ani lecha. If I come and I say that I'm mudar to you, shnehem asurim. They're both going to be prohibited. The word lecha is both going to be prohibited. Mudrani hemach hu asur chavro mutar. But if he says from you, so then only he is going to be prohibited. but the friend is going to be permitted because the hemach only means from you. Umudrani is not mashma, me and my properties. So therefore, he's coming in and saying this. If he says mudar ani lecha, the word lecha means lecha v'mishilcha. So the word lecha means both. Okay, and mudar, right, neder v'na'ah is on both. When it says mudrani heimach, not lecha, heimach, it's a different terminology. So then it only works one way. So you see how precise are the words. That all depends how you use the word. Is it one way or a two-way street? That's what it says. Okay? So says the Gemara, he says, one second, our Mishnah, when it talks about Mudrani Mimcha, and we're talking about the Matnitim to Shmuel, if you remember, we said in all these cases, it wasn't just enough to say Mudrani Mimcha or Muchakani Mimcha or all these things. You had to add in the other sentence saying that I'm not going to eat from you, or I'm not going to taste from you, or I'm not going to, all these things. But if you say Mudrani Hemach, Shneim Asurim. So this is the exact opposite of what we just said 2 seconds ago. 2 seconds ago, we just said, Mudar ani lecha, lecha to you is both ways. Hemach, I don't know how you translate Hemach in English, right? But obviously it's a different thing. From you. Okay, so from you is not two ways. It's only one-way street. Now he's saying over here, in our Mishnah, it says Hemach. And Shmuel comes and he says that you have to add in the words that I'm not eating from you, or I'm not tasting from you, whatever it is. But if you say Mudrani Hemach from you, it's a both-way street.
It seems like, because in the other daf, we went back and forth 3 times.
Exactly. So that's what we're doing here now. So says the Gemara, you're right. This is what Shmuel really said at the beginning. And he says like this, the only reason why we said this is because you said that I'm not going to eat from you, I'm not going to taste from you. That it's only going to be a sur from achila. But if you use the terminology of neder, of mudar hana'ah, asura filu bana, which means this. If the guy came and he said, I'm separated from you, but then he said, I'm not going to eat from you, so you can't eat. But benefit, you could do benefit, you could do anything else, but now you can't eat or you can't taste or whatever you exactly said. Here, the second that you use the terminology mudrani mincha, which is mudrani is from like a lashon of a neder, of any type of a benefiting. So then you're assured even to benefit whatsoever. Okay? And therefore, even though when he says mudrani mincha, right, he says it's not proof that really bemet is subana, Shmuel holds that this is already considered yadayim. Yadayim, remember, was like the extension, and therefore it's going to be a sur.
The yad.
The yad is like the extension. It's like a, right, it's not the real kin, it's not the neder. Remember, we had the neder, we had a kinui, and then we had yadot la kinui. The neder was, he's going to say the terminology of isur and korban. The kinui was kuname, kunache, kunase. That's the kinui. The yadot was, I'm segregated from you, I'm distanced from you, those are the yadot. That's like an extension. It's like a gader, if you want to call it. Okay? Fine. So ask the Gemara, if so, why didn't Shmuel just say this? That if he didn't say, he should have said that if you didn't add in the words that you're not going to eat or taste or whatever, so then it's a sur and everything. Meaning we thought that only if you added these words, then it becomes more prohibited. Says the exact opposite. According to Shmuel, if you didn't add any words, that becomes more prohibited. Because that means it's a sur even banah. Only when you add words, it becomes more lenient. Because now that you said, I'm not going to eat, so okay, so it's only in eating, or things like that. You understand? So says the Gemara, but this is what it means to say. The reasoning is because it says, that it's going to be a sur. That it's going to be separated from you. Lo mashma da the sur. Some mashma is going to be a sur. My tamot's reasoning. It's not the mashmaut is like this. The whatever is the deuce, you could deduce like this. When I say it, I'm saying I'm going to be separated from you. Right? What does that mean? It means that I'm not going to do business with you. That I'm going to be distanced from you. What does that mean? That I'm not going to come within your dalad amot.
I have a different here. I'm bad from you is
to say is right. What we're trying to explain is that each one of those terminologies was also a different thing. It wasn't just in general that if you said any of these three, it's a surbana. No. When you came and you said the first one, mudarani mimcha, it means I'm not going to speak to you. Mufrashani mimcha, I'm not going to do business with you. And the last one, which was basically distance. So you can say distance, okay, so I'm not going to get within you for, it's like you call a restraining order. I'm going to be far away from you. But nothing else than that, I could still use your product, I could still do everything else. So therefore, that's what he's coming and saying. So it means each one of them is another Lashon. Hey Amud Bet, 5b. So says the Gemara, Leima kasavar Shmuel yadayim shel mochiro lo avian yadayim. So why don't we just say that means 1 second? Why don't you say according to Shmuel, when you have yadayim which are not mochichot, yadayim should not mochichot means
inconclusive.
Exactly, it's inconclusive. That what you said. So therefore, it's not considered a good extension to a neder. It's not considered a good neder. So answers the Gemara, yes, Shmuel mukim lamatzidin Rabbi Yehuda. Shmuel holds like Rabbi Yehuda. The Amar yadayim shemukol lo avian yadayim. That according to him, it's not considered an inconclusive type of a neder. It's not considered a neder. The Tanam, as we learned, right, in our Mishnah, Gufo shel get. What is the main part of a get? The person wants to write a divorce to his wife. What is the main part of a divorce to his wife? You are permitted to everybody. And that's why, by the way, it should be on the same line. Meaning the words, you are permitted to any man, should always be on the same line. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda says, you also have to write that this should be for you, from me, a book, which is going to be like a Sefer Girushin, like a divorce book, and an abandoning, I don't know if it was abandoning, a letter of abandonment. Thank you, abandonment. Mm-hmm. Okay, so therefore, if it's only written right, that's not enough still. You also still need a book, a divorce book.
Is no good.
Exactly, meaning that you need like the full thing. You understand? Yep. Of the divorce bill and like mamash everything there. So says the Gemara. So now 1 second. Why does Shmuel have to say that our Mishnah is like Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda is a Yachid. He's not a Rabbi, he's an individual. Why are you putting and pressing that this Mishnah is only like an individual? Look, just say to the rabbis, even though it's not even though it's inconclusive. So Rabba comes and he says, no, he had a question from the Mishnah. Why? Why do we learn in the Mishnah, right? Why did he say the word lecha? Right? That basically that I'm going to eat from you or I'm going to taste from you. Even without the word lecha. Meaning, why did you have to have the word lecha? Right? Even because without the word lecha, it's not mochichot. It's still inconclusive. Meaning, when I come and I say, I'm not going to eat from you, that's conclusive. I said in Mefurash, I'm not eating from you. But if I say shani ochel, then I'm going to eat. It's inconclusive. From who? Right? From who? So it's inconclusive. So he had a question from the Mishnah in itself. The Mishnah should have been inconclusive, and then we go like Chachamim. From here we learn. So from the fact that the Mishnah had to add in the word lecha to you to make it conclusive, it's mashma that it was like Rabbi Yehuda, that if it was inconclusive, it's not going to be a good. Until here we're clear?
1 second.
It was stated. Yadayim she'en mochichot. When we're talking about yadayim she'en mochichot, yeah, Abaye says havyan yadayim. They are yadayim. Rabba says lo yadayim. So you see that this machloket that we just had between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan is the same machloket between Abaye and Rabba. Abaye says yadayim she'en mochichot, which means inconclusive. A statement is still considered a yadayim to do with nedarim, and Rabba says it's not considered yadayim to do with nedarim. So Amar Rava is going to bring a mekor to his sak from a pasuk. Meaning he's going to try to bring a proof from the pasuk that it's not that inconclusive neder is not considered a neder. So Amar Rava comes and he says Ravidi asbira. Ravidi comes and he asbira he explained to me this halacha. Amar Kra, it says in a pasuk, Ishu isha kafli indor neder nazir laHashem. A person, a man or a woman that's going to come and he's going to make a neder. Nazir to become a Nazirut. So it says Makishi Adot, Nazirut. We're making a Akesh. Remember, Akesh is juxtaposition, which means that when two things are brought in close proximity in the Torah. So it says over here, Makishi Adot Nazirut to Nazirut. Right? What does that mean? For that means basically anything which is going to be a Yad, right? Which is again, the extension is going to be like the Nazirut in itself. Ma Nazirut be'afla, just like Nazirut, he said, Ki afli lindor neder, which means that it's a nusach maleh, it's a full text of Nazirut helps only when it's ascertained, right? That what the time that you're saying it, you're doing Nazirut, right? So that means if a person comes and he says he's going to be a Nazir, if he's a Nazir.
No inconclusive.
Exactly, no inconclusive, which means he doesn't know if he's a Nazir. I come and say, I'm going to be a Nazir if he's a Nazir. do I know right now he's a Nazir? I don't know. So if I don't know, that means it's inconclusive what I'm saying right now. So therefore he says, right, even though afterwards it was come out that he was a Nazir, it's not Chal, right? Why? Because at the time he didn't know. So too Yedot Nazirut also the
So I'm going to be a
thing.
Nazir if you get $1,000. Thanks.
Exactly, and you don't know. So therefore the same thing. So he says, even though it's Barur, right? So too Yedot Nazirut helps only if it's going to be a certain at the time. This comes to exclude that if it's inconclusive. So you see from here, it comes from the Torah that inconclusive Nazirut is not Chal. Okay, that's what we're saying until now.
Hekesh, yes.
Yes, that's a Hekesh. Okay, so says the Gemara, Lema beplukta Rabbi Yehuda Rabbanan kami palges. So why don't we just say the machloket between Abai and Rava is the same machloket of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan. The Tanam, we learned in the Mishnah, Gufo shel get. What is the main part of the get? Harei amuter lechol adam, you're permitted to everybody. Rabbi Yehuda says no, it's not enough because you still have to say then the avi leichim inai seven turuchim get piturim get shivukin. Abai damak Rabbanan. So Abai holds like Rabbanan and Rava holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Meaning, why don't we just say that the later machloket between Abai and Rava is the same machloket from the Mishnah of Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan? Many times we try to do that. We try to say that the same machloket that we had down below was the same machloket that we had in previous generations. So says the Gemara, no. Amalecha Abai could answer you. Ana de amne filu Rabbi Yehuda. I could hold even like Rabbi Yehuda. Why? When does Rabbi Yehuda say that you need the mochiot only to do with a get? Why? The bainan kritut. By a get, you need something which is going to cut off. It's a sefer kritut. It's a cutting off. You have to cut off all connections. There's no connections anymore to his wife, right? That's why he comes and is completely mamash. Like if a person comes and he says, you know what, he's divorced, but on condition you never go to your father's house. It's not a good. It's not a good get. Why? Because if there's something hanging still right between that, it's not considered a divorce. It has to be something which is completely cutting off. So he says you need a book which is cutting off, and you don't have it. So that's why, right? He comes and he says that according to Yehuda, you still need not only just that you're permitted to any man, but rather that this is a book of cutting off and a book of an abandonment and so on and so forth. The letter of abandonment. He says about Be'alma, but in a normal case, it has nothing to do with get. Mishamaleh, does Yehuda ever say that you need something which is conclusive? He never told you. By get, it has to be conclusive. Makes sense, but not by everything. So Abaye says, I just told you that you don't need conclusive. It's true, that could even be a good according to Rabbi Yehuda. But Rabbi Yehuda only needs conclusive by a get. Because it says sefer kritut and you don't have it. But by anything else, you don't need it. And Rava could come and tell you the exact opposite. When Rava is going to tell you, I could hold even according to the rabbis. Why? When do the rabbis say that you don't need anything which is conclusive? Ela gabe get only to do with a get. He says, why? Vava Mudalev 6A1. The en adam megaresh et eshet chavero. Because you cannot divorce your friend's wife. You could only divorce your own wife. So for according to him, you don't need something conclusive because it's obvious. It's like, who are you divorcing? You're divorcing your friend's wife? When he comes and he says, you are permitted to anybody. That's you're divorcing your own wife. So you don't need that it has to be 100% conclusive. Even inconclusive, we know what you're doing. But in a normal case, Nishamalu, where did you see that you don't need conclusive? Maybe in a normal case you did need conclusive. So therefore, what we are trying to do now is we had a machloket between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan to do the get. There, do you need conclusive or inconclusive? According to Rabbanan, even inconclusive is good. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you need it conclusive. We have another machloket to do with us. Our machloket has to do with Nedarim. There it says, do you need conclusive or inconclusive? Abaye says you need conclusive. Rava says, Abaye says inconclusive. Rava says if it's inconclusive, it's nothing. Okay? So now what
how can it be that they're saying
here? To make the machloket between Abaye and Rava, the same machloket to do with Nedarim, the same machloket to do with Rabbanan, to do with Gitin. And each one comes and he says it's not true. Because each one comes and he says, I hold like both of them. So if each one holds like both of them, they're independent. So you cannot compare the case of a get to the case of a neder. So you're right, you have two different cases. The case of get, machloket, do you need, right, conclusive or inconclusive? And also by case of nedarim, machloket between Abaye and Rava, do you need conclusive or not conclusive? We'll continue tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem, with Daf Vav Amud Aleph.